So by a show of hands, who's ready for an amazing day? Let me hear you say, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And by a show of hands, how many of you are committed to being awesome public speakers? Let me hear you say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you are in the right place. Thank you for being here. We have a little tradition. So since I can't reach you all, go ahead and reach out, touch a person on the back, and say, congratulations for being here.
Congratulations.
My name, as you know, is Gerald Rogers, and I am so excited. Welcome to the Ultimate Public Speaker Training. You guys are in the right place. Today, you are in for an absolute treat, because today we're going to be really breaking down everything as it relates to how to become a more powerful communicator, how to put on your own events, how to market, and regardless of what business you're in, you're going to find that this knowledge and these skills are going to be very, very useful for you to get better results for what you're doing. So just out of curiosity, we're going to go ahead and start off by getting a little bit of feedback in terms of some specific things that you want to get out of today. So who can tell me, what are some specific things or specific reasons that you're here today?
Some body language.
Okay, to learn the power of having a powerful physiology and understanding body language and nonverbal communication that happens. Great, what else? Okay, the confidence to be able to stand comfortably in front of thousands of people and to deliver the message that's inside your heart. Good, what else? Who can tell me what else?
Learn how to do it.
Learn how to do it. To do it all, right?
Yeah, the bigger picture.
Right, so the bigger picture is good. So we're going to be breaking down about the business if you choose to get into public speaking as a profession or to put on seminars. But even more than that, regardless of what business, whether you're just an investor or if you are looking for private money and you want to fill a room with potential private money investors and you want to be able to confidently present, these exact same skills of marketing and presenting and leading people to have a desire to work with you are universal principles. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Who's ready? Say, oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good deal. So we're going to start off just by talking about, would it be okay if I shared my story, a little bit about myself? Would that be okay with you?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. So my background, for many of you that know, is I first began my journey as an adult as an illustrator. That was what I studied in college. So I was a doodle major, right? So if a doodle major, someone that gets paid for drawing goofy pictures, can end up putting on seminars and speaking and training, you can too. Everyone say, so if he can do it, so can I.
Oh, you can do it, so can I.
Awesome. Good. And I truly believe that. And a few years ago, it wasn't something that I even envisioned as part of my future. But probably like many of you, I became addicted to the learning process. About 8 years ago, I started as a real estate investor and began investing in properties. And eventually that led me to started attending seminars. And I wish that I would have discovered the power of seminars and the power of education when I first began real estate investing. When I first began real estate investing, I didn't realize that this whole world of education was out there. And so I just dove straight in and made so many mistakes that I never would have made had I met a mentor that could have taught me some of the basic principles to avoid those pitfalls and to get started faster. And so as you're looking about the knowledge and skills that you particularly have, think about the ways that you could help or benefit other people. But for me, it was several years after I had been investing that I first went to my first seminar. And I remember when I first went, my mind was like, oh my gosh, I never knew. It was like this whole new culture was opened up to me, right? This culture of people that were excited about learning and just to be around people like Da Vinci or Casey or Carlos, all these people that were just hungry for knowledge and looking to better their life. I became really engaged in that community and culture for a couple of reasons. Number one, I realized the education made a huge difference in terms of the results I was getting in my business. How many of you have noticed that the more education you get, the more money you make? How many realize that? Good. So that's one thing that I discovered, and so I committed myself to constantly investing in my education, realizing that the most important investment I could ever make was where? Right? That little piece of real estate, the 6 inches between my ears, was the most important thing I could ever invest in. And in addition to that, I loved the people that I met when I was in that environment, because I found people that were like-minded. people like you and me who are committed to a lifelong process of learning and growth. And what's the power of being around like-minded people? What happens when you're around people that think and believe the same way you do?
You're associating behaviors.
Yeah, so you create the synergy, and you start associating behavior. When you're around successful people like Brent, it's only natural that you're going to start to think and act the way that someone successful like him does, right? So that's the power of being around people that are also growing. There's a stat that you hear a lot. Your income tends to be the average of the 5 people that you hang around most, right? So unfortunately, if your income's not where it needs to be, look at your friends. Not to say that you need to completely stop being friends with them, but you also need to upgrade your relationships. And that's one thing I realized. And I realized the people that I met when I was traveling around at seminars were people that really, when I was around them, I felt so much more alive. And during that whole process, I really became addicted to growth. But at that time still, even though I had loved the learning process and I loved seminars, I never thought that I'd be the person that was putting them on. It was just something that hadn't happened until one day. I remember it was actually a T. Harv Eker. Who here has ever heard of T. Harv Eker before? Good. All right, so he put on this seminar called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and it just, like, when I went, my whole life just caught on fire, just because I got engaged into this energy and this community, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember watching that presenter on stage speak, and I was like, I want to be him. And I think what first gripped me about that idea is because I saw the transformation that was taking place on the people in the audience. I mean, there was 700-800 people in the audience, and without question, every one of them was making massive shifts in terms of the way that they believed, the way they thought, and the way they acted and showed up. And for me, at my core, is that desire to help and to transform and to bless other people's lives. And I remember watching him up on stage, and I said, oh, what if? Have you guys ever thought that? What if? Right? Raise your hand if you've ever thought that. Good, yeah. And then over the course of time, I became good friends with Than Merrill and just a whole bunch of other speakers in the real estate space. But it was about 2 years ago that I was actually at an event, and it was at that event that I really started to create a really strong relationship with some of the other professional speakers that were out there, specifically in the real estate training space, because that's where I was focused on. And I remember just hanging around them and just realizing that they're normal people. They have the same desires, they have the same gifts, they have the same weaknesses. I mean, they are just normal people, just like me. And I remember just being around that. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Everyone say, if they can do it, I can do it.
They can do it, I can do it.
Okay, good. And that's a core belief that you need to have to get success in whatever you do. But just really believe that's true. That, at any time you, because of the knowledge and skills that you personally have, you can be on stage, sharing that with other people. So it was about 2 or 3 months after that. Have you ever been laying in bed, and as you're laying there, all of a sudden, it's like in the middle of the night, all of a sudden this idea comes out of nowhere and sinks into your brain, reaches down to your heart, and just grips you? Who's ever experienced anything like that? Right? And all of a sudden you lay there wide awake, and your mind is just on fire, just thinking, oh, what if, oh my gosh, watch. And right in the middle of the night, everything is like a perfect idea. And then you wake up in the morning, it's like, what the heck was I thinking? But most of the time when I've experienced that in the past, like I wake up in the morning and say, oh, that's a crazy idea, and I put it on the shelf of good ideas, only to return to maybe later, maybe never. But this was different. I remember having this idea, what if I were to bring some of my friends like Than Merrill and put together like a seminar, the ultimate seminar to me, right? Because I had been to a lot of seminars, and some of them were super powerful and super educational and really inspiring, and then there were others that were not so much. Who can relate to that, right? So I decided, what if I could bring an experience like I had at Peak Potentials, and were to mix it with the most powerful real estate education and combine it in a way that I was really able to not only give the education, but to transform people at the same time. And that's when the concept for the Investor Summit first emerged, was about 2 years ago. And since the 2 years have gone by, I have learned so much that I'm going to be sharing with you today, things that can, skyrocket you to greater success and help streamline your ability so you don't make the same mistakes I did. But, for me, that idea just gripped my mind in such a way that I'm either all in or all out. If I decide something, I want to make it happen fast. And so I decided, okay, let's do this. And I set a date which was like 4 weeks from when I made that decision. Like, I'm going to teach you some marketing principles. One of the marketing principles I'm going to teach you is think ahead, right? That's something I didn't realize at the time. But at the same time, have you also noticed that when you hit something head first and just commit 100% that somehow everything works out? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. Okay, good. So thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I experienced. I decided, okay, I need to cut myself off from any possibility of not following through. Because it's too easy, isn't it? It's too easy to have a great idea and to overanalyze it and think about it and to think about all the reasons why it can't work and to think, maybe tomorrow I can do it. How many of you realize that you've ever done that, right? So, for me, I realized that the only way that I could really make this happen was to make some massive commitments. To make some massive what?
Commitments.
To make some massive commitments, thank you. Massive commitments that would help me to make sure that I followed through. And so those commitments where I called up my friends, I lined up speakers and I said, hey, I'm going to be putting on this amazing seminar called the Investor Summit. I would love to have you participate. Would that be something you'd be interested in? And I'll be breaking down today exactly everything that I did to make that first one possible. But to make a long story short, over the course of 3.5 weeks, we got 1,100 people registered, right? Do I get a round of applause for that? Thank you. So we got 1,100 people registered, and I realized a lot of things along the way. But that was the awesome thing. And the seminar happened. We had some of the biggest names in the industry come speak, and it was really a profound experience. But I remember the reality shift that I had to experience to make that possible. From not knowing a thing about what I needed to do to having to have all these elements to fall into place. And so today as we talk, we're going to be talking about not only the marketing side, how to attract people to your events, but we're also going to be talking about a little bit of the business side too. And we're going to be talking about what it looks like on the back side of a seminar room. What's the logistical things that need to happen? And once again, regardless of what business that you're in, look at this as a model that you can either use in your current business or not, right? But the tools and the principles really are universal. And I'm also going to be sharing with you the principles that I learned from speaking. Because I remember that very first Investor Summit, right? So here it was, and for some reason I had this psychosis in my mind that I was too young to do this. Have you ever felt that way, Joshua?
Yeah.
Right? So there's something inside me that was like, I'm too young to be this successful. I'm too young to have these things. I'm too young to do this. Or that psychosis that says, what do I know? Have you guys ever felt that way? What do I know to be able to teach someone else? Right? Raise your hand if you've ever had anything like that. So these are the limiting beliefs that was going on through my mind. Just feeling too young, feeling like I didn't know enough. And I remember that first experience when I got up on stage back in September 2008 for the first Investor Summit. I was doing everything in my power to not be the guy on stage. I was trying to find other people to MC. I was trying to find other things to do. I just wanted to be the promoter because that's how I saw myself. I knew I could market, and I wasn't sure about speaking on stage, right? It scared me. It scared me a lot. And so I remember that experience of just being gripped by that fear the first time I got up and just having my whole heart just like, so tense and so nervous. And something happened over those 3 days is I realized that my experience on stage was no different than my experience one-on-one. And that when you approach your speaking, whether it's to a large group or to an individual, in a way that you're concerned about them, and it's all about them rather than all about you, that's when you will find your power. And that's what I discovered. During the first few minutes I was on stage, I was petrified, I was terrified, and I'm sure it showed. but I worked through it until I got to that point where all of a sudden I was speaking from my heart. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the power of doing that, and not only the power that you have in communicating and reaching and influencing other people when you get to that point, but we're also going to be talking about how you're going to just have greater results, you're going to have greater enjoyment when you do that, when you get out of your head and get into your heart. And we'll be talking about some specific principles to do that. And I remember at the end of the Investor Summit, that very first one, was anyone at the first Investor Summit by any chance? We have a few people.
Was that the one in the JW Marriott?
Yeah, at the JW Marriott, yep. Yeah, exactly. So that was my first time ever speaking. I remember at the end of that event, just, looking into the eyes and just like being overcome with emotion, because I knew what that education had meant to those people. I knew what those 3 days of creating connections had meant to people. And I felt like, in some small way, I had made an impact in the lives of those that were there. And just remember that flood of absolute, total emotion and joy and just gratitude, as people stood and gave me an ovation, and just really feeling like so connected. And I knew at that moment that I was hooked, right? That this is something I wanted to be part of my life. That I sincerely, deeply, passionately loved that ability to reach and touch other people's lives. And that there was no other vehicle that gave me a greater ability to impact a lot of people at the same time than speaking and putting on seminars. And so I made it my quest from that point forward to figure out, how can I do it better? How can I be a better, more confident communicator? How can I understand the business side so I can make sure that the money comes in so I can continue to do what I love? And as I continued to study, I really focused on, how can I not only give education, but how can I provide transformation? You guys know the difference, right? The difference between, here's a bunch of knowledge versus, here's something that will change your life, and here's the tools to actually use it, right? Because there's a whole different game there. And so that's been really one of my focuses, is learning the game of transformation as well as education. Because there's a big disconnect that people have when they sit in front of a room and they hear some guy up on stage share a bunch of facts and statistics and do this, do this, do this, do this, but it's just a bunch of notes, and they take that notebook home, and what do they do with it? Yeah, they put it on the shelf, right? For me, that's not the game I want to play. I want to make sure that when someone leaves my room at the end of the day, that they have a shift of beliefs and a shift of actions that comes because of those new beliefs. Right? I want to know that they're going to be using the tools that I give them. And so one of the things we're going to be talking about today is something called accelerated learning technology. What's it called? Accelerated learning technology. Thank you. So accelerated learning technology. And that is really the key to make sure that the people that you're speaking to are gaining the most possible from the time that you have with them. And to make sure that they retain more. And the other thing that happens is it's a whole lot more fun. A whole lot more what?
Fun.
Fun. Who likes to have fun? Let me hear you say, woo!
Woo!
All right, so it's a whole lot more fun. Just out of curiosity, as we go throughout today, who wants to learn the most possible? Let me hear you say, oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
All right, and who wants to remember more of what you learned? Say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so what's the secret of that? Who can tell me? Participation. What is it?
Participation.
Participation. All right, so why is participation so important in the process of learning? All right, because you're doing it. Rather than just hearing it, you're actually doing it. Why else is it important? Why else is participation so important to making sure that you actually learn and retain the information?
After 7 minutes, people tune out, so they got to change your state every 7 minutes.
Good. So by engaging your physiology and having a state change, having a what? State change. That state change re-engages you in the conversation. So a couple things that you'll notice is, as I go throughout the presentation, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. Why would I ask a lot of questions? Right? Because, thank you, Casey. You must have been listening. So there's a little part in your brain called the reticular activating system. You don't need to know that. What you do need to know is it activates your subconscious, and it seeks for understanding, and it engages the mind. It what?
Engages the mind.
And engages the mind. And how many have noticed that sometimes they have you repeat things? They have you what?
Repeat things.
Repeat things. Repeat things. Why would I have you repeat things?
So you can remember.
Okay, right, so you can remember. Why else? Because if I say something, it means one thing, but if you say something, it means everything, right? So I'll have you repeat things. Another thing that will happen is sometimes I'll leave the last word off the end of the sentence so your mind just fills in the
Blanks.
You guys are good. You guys are good. So we'll be talking a little bit more about why that happens, but as we go throughout the day, I want you to be observant in terms of how those state changes occur, and the things that we do to engage your subconscious, to engage your what? Subconscious. And the other key that's really important is you, as an audience, is for you to be able to participate at 100%. At what percent?
100%.
100%, right? And that is key because while I have some things that I truly believe have impacted my life in a major way, the learning process is ultimately up to who? You, right? It's up to you. The things that you walk out with at the end of the day are ultimately all about what you learn and retain and what's important to you. So one of the things I'm going to invite you to do, Joseph, as you're going throughout this day, and Steve and everyone, as you're going throughout this day, is to take notes, not only on the things I say, but to be really tuned into your mind and to the things that are more important. Because one of the things I believe is when your mind is seeking for an answer, it will find it. It may or may not be directly from what I say. It may be from something that you learned from some other person in the audience. Or it may be a thought that just, boom, comes directly to you. But what happens when your mind is focused on, okay, what do I want most out of this day? Or how can I learn the fastest? Or how can I use these things in my business? Then all of a sudden that engages your reticular activating system, engages your subconscious in a way that is going to seek for those answers. So one of the most powerful ways that you can help yourself learn is to ask powerful questions. To ask what?
Powerful questions.
Powerful questions. So powerful questions are the key for learning. They're the key for what?
Learning.
Learning. Thank you. They are the key for learning. Anytime you get stuck in your life, in your business, just ask more powerful questions. And look for those questions because those questions are going to be what open you up to new answers and new possibilities. Believe me, 99% of what you need to know, you already know. 99% of what you need to know, you already know. And sometimes you need to ask more powerful questions so your brain can access that information. All right? So once again, who's ready for an awesome day? Let me hear you say, oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so as we get started, just want to kind of lay a foundation for some places where you might find these skills helpful. Where are some places that you may be in a setting where you need to be a more powerful communicator or you need to speak publicly?
Personal relationships.
Okay, so good. So these things relate to personal relationships. Great.
Office.
Okay. Office. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have ever been in a situation where you've been training people in your office? Okay, good. So these things, when you implement these things, it's going to take the learning of your organization to a whole new level. Like outrageously, because it'll engage them in a learning process and it'll help activate the community in a way that people will be more engaged in the process. Okay, good. So in office setting, when you're doing some training, when else would this be useful?
Sales.
All right, sales. All right. So give me an example of places where sales would be important, Steve.
One-to-one.
All right.
Setting.
So if you're using one-on-one or if you're in a group setting, either way, all right?
At every interaction, a sale takes place. Either you sell them or they sell you.
Good, I love that. In every interaction, a sale takes place. Either you're sold or they're sold, right? And that's the same even if you're doing something that's non-monetary related, right? Even if it's in a relationship or you're helping someone, even like in a religious sense, right? Or if you're trying to help someone to overcome a limiting belief. Either they stick with their limiting belief and they make the sale on themselves, or you help them overcome it and you make the sale. Either way, a sale occurs. Do you guys agree? Yes? Okay, so sales are really important, either in a group or individual experience. What else? Okay, good. So in networking groups. Okay, networking groups. Good. Anything else? So let's talk specifically about, for those of you that want to get on stages, you feel like you've got a message. Just out of curiosity, how many of you feel like you've got a special message or something you want to share, Raise your hand. And how many of you feel like you've got some specific knowledge that you feel like would help other people? Raise your hand. Right? Okay, good. So give me an idea of what are some ways that you could get onto more platforms or more stages to be able to present and teach people? What would be some places that you could find to be able to get in front of more people? Okay, good. So we got organizations. And Marty said investment clubs. So give me an idea of how that works. Actually, Scott, go ahead and share your experience. You just put on a little mini seminar, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you just put on a little mini seminar. Who is the audience?
New investors, primarily.
Okay, new.
Some very experienced.
Okay, so there were some new investors, some very experienced investors, and how did you get that opportunity to speak to them?
I joined Central Florida Realty Investors, and I immediately, I was there for about a year and a half, and then I got really involved.
Okay, good.
I started doing volunteering, and then I started, I wanted to do some give back. So part of my give back was to run a group, so I run a group there.
Okay.
And then I saw a need for new investors to learn math for real estate, so we did a 3-hour seminar, and I did it 2 years in a row for free, and then this year we charged a little bit so that people could actually show up.
Awesome. Okay, good. So those things that Scott shared, he joined a real estate investing group. And more than just joining, he became involved. He engaged himself. He started volunteering. He became a part of the organization. And that evolved. He had some very specific knowledge. He saw a problem that needed to be solved for the members of that organization, and he knew that he had specific knowledge that could help them, specifically real estate math. And so he started off doing those events for free, and then this year he actually charged to have people come to learn that.
It was $19.
$19, right? And it was still a huge win. Give Scott a huge round of applause. All right, good. So as you're getting started, look for those opportunities where you can either speak for free or for a low fee, where you can just start teaching, getting in front of people. How many agree the more you do it, the easier it becomes? All right? So that's a key. Just start somewhere and start now. Start when? Now. Okay, so the key is starting now. I mean, every one of you, if you focused on it, you could have an opportunity to speak by the end of the week, right? So look at that, and don't be picky. Just find people that you can share your message to, and just practice refining it.
I signed up for a church, and I figure that's a good opportunity.
All right, good. Okay, good. So that's another one. So we got clubs, and we got churches. All right, so churches are a great example of an opportunity to get in front of people and share something that you're passionate about. And if you're teaching, it's the exact same skills. Good. Where else? All right, good. Okay, schools. You got charities. Where else? Anything else?
How about political events?
Yeah, so political events. That's a great example. All right, so just think, I mean, all over the city, day after day after day, there's events going on. These hotels are booked day after day after day, sometimes with 10, 15, 20 events all going on at the same time. Any of those events could be possible opportunities for you to teach or train. Sometimes they're with specific companies, sometimes they're with focused interest groups. There's another thing called meetup.com. Write that down, meetup.com. So meetup.com is an opportunity where there's these mini groups that are established all over the city, and it's just people that get together because they're interested in a specific topic, right? So you can find a meetup.com about poodles, if you're passionate about poodles, or about real estate, or about meditation and hypnosis. Whatever you're interested in, there's a good possibility that there's going to be a meetup group that is focused on that topic. So get involved with those, and it also gives you an opportunity to start your own meetup group. And ultimately, that's where you want to be. You want to be the tribal leader. The what?
Tribal leader.
All right? So you're looking for your people, your peeps, the people that enroll in your conversation and that believe the way that you do and look to you as their leader. And that's your goal, is to be able to have people come to you because you are the expert. So in terms of speaking to these places, what are some of the advantages of becoming a speaker? Why speak?
People will perceive you as an expert.
Okay, perfect. So people will perceive you as an expert. Why will they perceive you as an expert?
Because you're up in front of them and you're telling them stuff that they're not maybe sure of, they may know, but you're also sharing your experience.
All right, good. So you become the automatic expert. It's massive credibility. When I'm on stage teaching about real estate investing, people look at me as a real estate expert because I'm teaching them things. I'm teaching them good, solid content, things that I've learned from my experience and from other people that have taught me. Now, I'm also going to be upfront. Like as a real estate trainer, I'm the first to admit that I am not the best investor on the planet, right? I'm not. But I'm a really good investor. But what happens is, because I've got specific knowledge and specific skills, and I'm able to teach people those things, all of a sudden it attracts people, so it gives me new opportunity. New what? Opportunity. So it creates more opportunities. And it allows me the opportunity to network with a lot of other people. And it opens up doors for joint ventures and other types of relationships. So it establishes that credibility. It helps build your brand. Helps build your what? Brand. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about the importance of your brand and how to be conscious about your brand and what that looks like. So, so look at that as another thing. What else can speaking do for you? What are other benefits?
Self-confidence.
Good. That's huge. That's huge. So it helps build confidence. All right. And so it helps build confidence. And it helps you refine your ability to communicate in other places too. There's a great thing that happens when you get in front of a group of 100, 200 people, or even 20 people, is that it forces you to get clear on your message. It forces you, it kind of compresses this experience where you have this pressure to perform. And always perform better when there's some sort of pressure or need to excel.
The other thing is it can totally take you outside of your comfort zone, which is interesting. For a really long time, I did a lot of permitting for real estate, so I was always the expert behind the scenes. And it's only been the last few years that I became out in front of the scenes. And it totally changed the way I think about myself. I was always the little guy behind the scenes. Or the little guy, what did I become?
Yeah.
The little guy behind the scenes.
Yeah, interesting. So it shifts the way that you think about yourself, and that's my experience too. I know Marty knew me, 3 years ago, and most people's experience with me is I was really shy, really reserved, right? I mean, that was me. That was just how I showed up. And by being able to get on stage and to express my message and to be able to let out some of this energy, it gave me more confidence in who I was, and it gave me more power to show up authentically and powerfully in all my other relationships. Who's interested in that? Let me hear you say, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it's good. So that's one of the things that happens in that experience of speaking. And it stretches your comfort zone. Stretches what?
Your comfort zone.
Your comfort zone. Why is it so important to stretch your comfort zone, Da Vinci?
Makes it grow.
That's where growth, that's where learning comes from. And what happens when you're learning? You just naturally feel more alive, don't you? You just feel more excited about life because you're in that process of growing and expansion. So that's one thing that happens when you're continually pushing your comfort zone. And that's one of the things that's huge for me, right? And one of the things that we're going to be talking about in terms of creating transformational processes for your events or your seminars or your speaking to make sure that the experience is deeply impactful is look for ways that you can push your audience out of their comfort zone. Why would that be important?
Because it allows them to be comfortable in an area, but their positioning. Like here, I'm comfortable if you ask me to do most anything, not only because I've been witnessing.
Trust me, he'll do just about anything.
Like, if you ask me right now to go and sit next to this lovely lady who said she was there in 2007 too, I never met her there.
Yeah.
There's that commonality that I'm comfortable, I'll jump right over there in a heartbeat.
Okay.
But out there, I wouldn't remember Rochelle if her name tag wasn't there and go, I don't know what you're doing, girl. We're not dancing tonight, you know?
Perfect. So just like Joe was saying, what happens when you create those opportunities and those growth experiences within a seminar is it creates a huge bond and community within the people that are in the group. Would you agree? All right. So, and it creates that confidence when you're in that environment. So one of the things I think about every time I do a seminar is this is nothing more than, it's kind of like a dojo. A what? A dojo. A dojo is a place where people go and learn martial arts. It's a practice area. It's a way for you to learn things out here, so when you go outside those doors, you can implement them and they become part of who you are. So with this being like the dojo, the more you play in here and the more we push you in here, the easier it's going to be for you to have powerful experiences outside of there, because that shift happens in your life. And this is a safe area. Right? This is an area where Joe can jump up and take off his shirt. Keep it on, man. Keep it on. It's part of Joseph's brand, for sure. All right, but in this safe environment, he can jump up, do crazy things, be something that he might not be outside of this room, just because outside of this room he is stuck keeping all these masks on. So that's a huge thing. Is it creates that environment for learning and the community. It creates what? A what? Okay, what? A community. All right, good. So one of the things we're going to be talking about and sharing in terms of your speaking is the importance of demanding a response. Demanding a what?
A response.
A response. And we'll be talking about exactly why that's important. But you'll see and you'll notice how if at first I get an answer or a response that's kind of weak, right, where only like 30% respond, what am I going to do? Am I going to just keep on going? No. Am I going to keep on going? Am I going to keep on going?
No.
All right, good. I'm going to make sure that I hold the audience accountable and make sure that they stay engaged in the conversation. What this does for you as a speaker, and we'll be talking about this a little bit more, is it makes sure that you stay as an authority figure, but more important than that, it keeps them engaged in the conversation. When you allow your audience to not respond, subconsciously it's telling them, well, it's not important for me to respond. Or it's not important for me to be involved in this conversation. Or that speaker doesn't care what I say anyways. So by demanding a response, it gives you the ability to keep them engaged in the conversation. And one of the things we're going to be talking about later is the importance of having small commitments. Those small yeses, because small commitments lead to large commitments. So small commitments lead to what? Large commitments, all right? So especially in business, when you're an investor or when you're a speaker or whatever, at the end of the presentation there's going to be a big commitment. Either they work with you or not, whether they invest in your program or not, whether they continue on the path that you're setting them or not. And a lot of that is based on building these small commitments to help get them to the larger commitment. So all of these things are powerful things about being a speaker. And what's one more huge benefit for being a speaker?
Increase your income.
Ching ching. Everyone say cha-ching. All right. Cha-ching. So public speaking can be one of the highest paid professions on the planet. So I've got personal friends of mine that in the course of a 90-minute presentation have made over $1.2 million. Yeah. 90 minutes. Do you think you could get by with $1.2 million in 90 minutes? Raise your hand. Come on, raise your hand. Raise your hand. If not, how much? And if not, how much more would you need? Really? So think about that. I mean, that's the insane power of being able to stand in front of a stage and to leverage a huge audience at the same time. So that particular gentleman, his name's Adam Ginsberg, he's got an internet marketing product, and that was over in England. And they had an audience of like 3,000 people, and he crushed it, right? He sold $1.2 million worth of his product in the course of 90 minutes. And that was just one weekend, and he does it over and over and over again. So you can see how public speaking or having a product can be a huge benefit to your income. And not only in terms of products that you sell, but in terms of any other type of sales that you're engaged in. Whether you have a product or service, or you have opportunity, or, you know, like I said, if you're attracting private money or any of those things, all of those skills will help you increase your income. Increase your what?
Income.
Who's excited about increasing your income? Say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, good. So we're going to be talking specifically about some of those things that are related to that. So as we get going today, what I want to have you do is go ahead and everyone find a partner. Everyone find a partner real quick. As you find a partner, I want you to share with your partner the main reasons, the main things that you personally want to get out of today. So go ahead and find an A partner and a B partner. All right? Find an A partner and a B partner as soon as you've chosen. A partners, raise your hand. A partners say, I will go first.
I will go first.
All right, go ahead and share for 30 to 60 seconds the reasons that you're here and what you want to leave today with. Go ahead, share. And if you're at home right now, go ahead and do this exercise. Make sure that you're at least writing down or sharing with someone by you the things that you want to get out of this training today.
And the bass keeps running, running, and running, running, and running.
Okay, 10 more seconds and then switch. B, share with A. B, share with A right now. What are the main things that you want to get out of this training today? Begin wrapping up. Okay, so who wants to share? Let's get a share. Who wants to share? One of the reasons you're here today. Carlos, go ahead and stand up. Say your name, where you're from.
My name is Carlos Martinez. I'm from Altamont Springs, Florida. I'm here to learn how to communicate better with others. I'm learning how to communicate with myself first. I'm in that process, and I'm want to communicate with others. I want to be able to teach others and motivate others, give them the opportunities, and let them to have them understand that they're capable of doing whatever it takes in this world to become successful. Because that's the process and the road that I'm on.
Awesome. Give Carlos a big round of applause. Come on, I said a big round of applause. Woo! All right, who else would like to share real quick? Dusty, thanks for volunteering.
Yes. Hi, I'm Dusty Rollins. I live in DeLand. Cost-effective marketing strategies for events. You know, like events like this, and just how to, because you can spend a lot of money on marketing or advertising that's not really of cost-effective marketing.
Absolutely. Good. All right, give Dusty a huge round of applause. Okay, one more. Brent?
I would like to take out of this today is
love it.
we can get a group of people together. I'm in the real estate industry, and everybody out there has something to learn, and everybody out there has something that you could teach each other. And I feel if we can get a group together and I can share what I know in my knowledge, and it might not be anything different than what you know, Carlos, but if I can transform it and say it in a different way, it might just click something in your head. And if we can get a group together where everybody might like doing something different in the real estate industry, whether it be joint ventures, you, Casey, might be getting together money. Joshua might be going to lenders or even picking out deals and put a big investment group together where it makes it easier for us to do deals. Because if you do one deal, you have 100% of your risk on the line. If you do 10 deals, it's only 10% of the risk. And if we can all grow together and get along together and understand how each other think, I think that's the best thing in the world.
All right.
Gerald, it's back to you.
Good. All right. Awesome. Okay, good. Georgina?
Hello, my name is Georgina, and I'm here because I am the behind-the-scenes person, and I have done the meetings from 10 people to 800 people.
Wait, time out. We're going to stop.
Okay.
Give me your hand. And we're going to make her come up and not be the behind-the-scenes person. Let's hear it for Georgina Barrera! Woo!
So, thank you, Gerald. So I am the behind-the-scenes person, and I want to be able to come out from behind and be up front. And there's a lot of things that I know I can do personally and in my real estate business by being able to speak to groups and feel more comfortable. So that's why I'm here today.
All right. Give her a big round of applause. All right, good. One more.
My name is Ella, and I'm here to learn how to negotiate better so I can close my first deal, and also I'm looking to find more buyers so I can market better. So these are, and then of course, I know down the line I've got something definitely to offer people, so I want to improve my public speaking skills and get that message across. And I feel awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Give her a big round of applause. Perfect. Okay, so there's a lot of things that are important for today. And in order for you to get the most, make sure you have a notepad out. I sent out a PDF notebook. Some of you may have gotten, some of you may not. I had thought about printing it out for everyone, but while it will be useful and it will be kind of the outline for what we have today, I want you to not use the workbook as something that will distract you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes when people have something out in front of written, they get focused on reading rather than listening and participating. And we want you to participate and learn. To what? Thank you. Participate and learn. And the key for that is making sure that you stay engaged. And there's also something else that's powerful that happens when you're writing. Because as you write, it transfers the information from your mind, from your ears, into something kinesthetic. All right, something that you feel. And we'll talk about different learning patterns and different learning styles. But one of the ways to retain more is just to have that physical movement engaged in that process. So as we go throughout this process, I want you to learn and to internalize these things. So we're going to be starting the conversation today with helping you identify what is it that I would speak about. What is in my heart, what is in my head that I could get out in such a way that would help and empower and impact other people, and I could get paid for it. So we're going to start with that conversation. And to do that, let's go ahead. If you got a blank piece of paper, go ahead and get that out. I'm going to be going through a series of questions. And whether you're here or whether you're at home, go ahead and get out a piece of paper and answer these questions the best you can. And there's no right answer or wrong answer. And the idea is to just get as much information out as possible, so then you can sift and sort and identify which one feels the best to you. And then you can start running with that. So what I'm going to be doing is just leading through a series of questions. And as I go through these questions, there's going to be some soft music in the background, but just really allow your minds to be clear and to just get centered. So as we begin this process, I'm going to do something that I like to do just to help clear your mind. Go ahead and place both feet flat on the floor. Place both feet flat on the floor and just close your eyes down for a second. All right, as you close your eyes, just breathe in deeply and breathe out. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out. As you breathe in deeply, breathe in pure, clear air. And as you breathe out all that stress and frustration you're simply letting go. As we go throughout the process, I just want your mind to be able to be still and to allow yourself to concentrate and focus. and to be able to get really in tune with your heart and what's going to be there. The answers that you need are waiting for you. Don't fight your mind on this, just allow them to come. So we're going to go ahead and begin. Go ahead and open your eyes. One more deep breath in. I'm going to start with the first question. Get your pen out. The first question is this. Just write down, what are some of your personal interests and passions? What are things that just excite you when you think about it? What are things that you absolutely love to do?